So picture this, a conference room, a circle of coworkers, and this is the prompt they were given. Share something about yourself that no one knows. And this guy next to me, he opens up with this real story, and it wasn't a joke. His actual introduction, share, was totally unfiltered for all the right reasons. And you'll want to stay put to find out exactly what went down. So if you're someone that hides your emotions, tucks away your most embarrassing moments, and keeps the truth under lock and key, you're in the right place. Because this video is a time warp into Gen Z's honesty, and you won't want to miss what cracked open in the end. Hey, welcome to Scrappy Solo Strategist. I'm Cindy, your Scrappy Strategist. I'm an introvert who at 40 with 3 kids and a dog and a life that didn't fit anymore decided to just grab life like a grocery bag, tip it upside down and let everything fall out. And I scooped up what mattered and let what didn't matter go. And there was one thing that perhaps surfaced, but I was too afraid to grab onto it. And in this story, we're going to talk about what that was and how regretful I was that I didn't clutch onto that and hold it as something that mattered. All right, so I was at a company team building meeting, and there was 16 coworkers all around this conference room table, and we all did our usual introductions. But then the coordinator said, "Let's go a little deeper. We're going to go around again, but then you're all going to tell us a story that no one has ever heard." And the Gen Zers in the room, they weren't fazed by that at all. But the Xers and the boomers like myself, we were just mortified. Our brains were clicking like, oh my gosh, what am I going to come up with? And how can I possibly tell this story? So this young man to my right, he was like 22 maybe, he starts talking about this girl that he really, really liked. And he brings her home to meet the parents. Dinner's set out at the table, and they all sit down. Conversation's going nice and easy when he suddenly feels this gas building inside of him. Terrified that he was going to fart, he actually excused himself from the table and went to the bathroom. And as soon as he shut the bathroom door and it clicked, he could feel that the relief was about to happen. And it finally came, but not the expected fart. He had just sharked. Frantic, he removed his pants quickly and began washing and rinsing his boxers and pulling himself back together. And he's holding these dripping, stained boxers, saying, "Oh my God, what am I going to do with these?" The most logical place that he thought of was just outside the bathroom door was a laundry closet. So he thought, "Oh, I'll just crack open the door, toss them in across the hall into the washer, and walk out like nothing happened." So just as he plans, he cracks open that bathroom door and he tosses his wet boxers across the hallway, but it came up short. The weight of the boxers clung to the side of the washing machine, and it was just dripping down the washing machine. And the weight actually slammed that cover shut. And the next thing he heard was his mother saying, "Are you all right in there? What's going on?" And he was just like, "Oh my gosh." And he hollers back and said, "I'm just tidying up. I'll be right there." And he puts his hand over his face and he's trying to breathe. And he cracks the door open to go back to the table. And there they all stood, staring at the washing machine and back at him. And he was just mortified. So, needless to say, at this point, the entire room was just roaring in laughter. I mean, some were even having tears come down their face from the laughter. And he turned to us and just said, "I can't believe you guys are laughing at this. This girl really, really meant something to me. I really liked her, and I wanted this to go somewhere. And I don't think any of this is funny. I'm telling a story that no one else has heard because no one knows how much I really like this girl. And you're sitting here laughing at me." The room went totally silent. Everyone gathered themselves. And then one by one, people would ask questions. I actually said, "So is this going to be a story in 60 years the two of you just laugh about?" And that's when he said, "No, no, it didn't work out." So his heart was really broken at that point. So do you remember when I just grabbed onto life and tossed it upside down like a grocery bag and let everything fall out? And I said there was one thing that I didn't realize I really needed, but I let go of it. Well, what that was the ability to let people see my messiness. I have been wearing, well, I should say I haven't been wearing my emotions on my sleeve ever, right? So I have this mask on. Nobody knows that side of me. And when I heard his story, I realized that this Gen Zer, and perhaps all of them, have an unapologetic honesty. And that willingness to be seen in the mess, I realize all of those bloopers of life, all of our learning lessons have just been buried. And we've lost so much from that. So from that, I learned it is okay to let people see that you're imperfect. And it is okay to share those stories. Now, it was my turn. I had to follow that. And this is my story. Mine happened 42 years ago. It was a beautiful May Monday. I had had my first child, and I decided that she and I were going to go sit out in the sun and enjoy. And I brought her out, laid down a blanket under a tree, and turned to get a fleece to cover her. And when I turned back, there was a snake slithering across her blanket. I shot off to the house and I got in the doorway and I was jumping up and down, going, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I got to get the baby. It took so much courage for me to run back to that blanket and snatch up that baby. I don't even know what happened to that snake. And that moment has been internalized because I don't wear my emotions on my sleeves. I can't let people see how imperfect I am until today. That's when I realized that this story can be told. It's unapologetic honesty. We're human and it can be told. So if you have all these messes in your life and you've been holding on to that truth, I've got a tip for you. So you don't have to shout or flee from snakes. You just have to be truthful to yourself and let that lead you home and tell that untold story and choose those moments that have never been shared. These are moments that might be sacred in your soul, but need to be said out loud. And it does take some practice. If you have lived a lifetime of not wearing your emotions on your sleeve, it is going to take practice. So the best way to practice, and it's kind of fun, is create a messy truth jar. That's right. Just sit down and write down all of those awkward, messy, hilarious truths that you have had in your lifetime and drop them in the jar. And then you can revisit them one by one. And then you can practice saying them out loud. And then you can practice sharing them. And if you get stuck, just ask yourself, what would a Gen Zer say? Right? Channel their unapologetic honesty and say the thing to yourself because that's how the practice happens. So you've made it around the conference room table and all of those messy discoveries. And if something has stirred in you about these untold stories and moments that you've carried in silence, I want to invite you to do something brave. I have a call to action for you. Tell it, write it down, whisper it to a friend, drop it in your messy drawer, and just tell your story. And if you think you're ready, you can drop it right in the comments, right? There's no face to it. Great practice. Tell us your messy stories, your awkward moments. And until the next one, be brave and be happy.